tout le monde! Today we're continuing to look at verbs and conjugation, and we're going to focus on ER verbs and especially their singular patterns. But to start with, let's go back over the anatomy of a verb. So the first thing you're going to need to do is look at these 5 verbs here and figure out what they all have in common, and remember what the equivalent in English would be. It should be pretty easy to figure out what they have in common. It's the title of the video. What is the English language equivalent of this pattern? So hopefully you figured out that what they all have in common is that they end with ER, which was in our title. And hopefully you remember from the last video that this is basically the equivalent of the English particle to. Okay, so where in French we have endings, in English you have a particle in front of your verb. What I underline in green is your verb root, and that carries the action's meaning, and then in red it basically tells you that this is without any context. Okay, so this symbol here means nothing, and that's to show you that nobody is doing the action. There's no time frame associated to it. It's just an action in void, so to speak. And so what we have here is, in French, literally, that would be the equivalent of the English play, and that's to. So instead of having to play, we'd have play to. And here, that would be look or watch. So we have watch or look to. And then chat to, surf to, download to. In normal English, to play, to look or watch, to chat, to surf, to download. Alright? So you have your red infinitive ending and then your green action meaning. And what happens is, as we said in the last video, in French, the ending will tell you who's doing the action and when it's happening. And this ending in particular shows you that there is no time frame and nobody doing the action. Now, let's look at the singular pattern. So singular, in case you've forgotten, is when there's only one person or thing. Here are your singular pattern. If the person doing the action, which I'm putting in blue for subject, blue is for subject, je is a subject, it means I, therefore it's the first person and it's singular because I am just one person. Tu, second person singular subject, il, elle, on, third person singular subject. Okay, so that's he, she. On is technically one, but we use it to mean we in French in a familiar way. We said earlier that ER shows you that nobody is doing the action. If you see an ER ending, no one is doing anything. However, in this case here, we have either I, you, he, she, or we doing the action. That means ER will not work anymore. We have to change it. We also are focusing here on the present tense, and so the action is happening now or happens regularly, and it's a habit. In that case, ER will become I for je, ES for tu, and I again for il, elle, on. That's the pattern in the singular forms. So just to show you how it works, comparing English and French. In English, if you are in, no context at all, no context, so we have to look, and then you want to move that into having he and the present tense, which means again, it's a habit regularly happening, or in French it's the same present tense for right now. So that means that I'm now adding he. Okay? What you're doing is you keep look, because the action hasn't changed, but because we have added the pronoun he, we need to add an ending instead of to, and that's s. It's basically like balancing a chemical equation, if you've done a bit of that in science, or balancing a mathematical equation, really. So if you pretend that your green verb root is the equal sign, say look is basically equal, and say to start with, there is no context. Because there is no context, we put to in front of it. No context matches to. But now, if before look, we put here an agent or a subject doing it, it's not nothing anymore. And because it's not nothing anymore, we need to add an S here to balance it out. So to basically means there's nothing, but with he now we have an action happening, there's context, we need to balance it out with an S here. I don't know if the equation similarity strikes you, but I know it helped me loads when I was studying German and Latin conjugation. Now in the French equivalent, we have here regarder, in which your action part, your stem is regarde. Same here. Now in the top one, there is no context, therefore we put er, but if you look at the bottom one, we've added context, il. Okay? So what we do is we remember from the grid here that with il, the matching ending is I. So what we've done here is we've deleted er and replaced it with an I on its own. So it would match. I hope that makes sense. Let's test it out. Let's say that you want to use jouer, but you want to use it and say that she plays. Right, so if we have jouer and we want to use it with elle, what is going to happen? First we put elle, which is the subject doing the action. Then we put our verb stem, joue, which is the action itself. And then, if needed, we go back to our grid where we saw that with elle we need I. So now instead of er, I'm going to have an I. Now say I'm talking about TV. You don't play TV, you watch it. So we are going to need to use this one. And say that I want to say you watch TV. So what's the first thing that we need to write down? If it's you watch TV, we put tu first. When that's done, we put the verb stem to show the action that's happening. And that's here, regarde. And the last thing we do is we need to put the correct ending to match to, because again, remember, it's like an equation. So this and this need to match. And the green part is almost like an equal sign. They need to be balanced. Okay? And the way you balance it out, looking at this grid, with tu, we put es to balance it. So, going back over, balance it out by adding es. That gives us tu regarde. Let's say that I want to say that I chat. So, what's the French for I? To start with, that would be je. So that means we begin with this. And then we put our green stem, which shows the action and is basically the middle of your balancing act. And then you need to finish your balancing act following this rule from the grid. So that means that with je, we need to use an I. So we put an I. And you'd carry on. So far we've got elle joue, she plays, tu regardes, you watch, and then je chat, I chat. And they could all also be translated as a right now ing verb, so it could be she is playing, you are watching, and I am chatting. Okay? And actually translating it like this can help you realize why the ending changes in French. You do the same in English. You wouldn't say she am playing or she are playing. That makes no sense. It has to be she is playing. You can't say you am playing or you be playing. It's not accurate English. You have to say you are playing. So, and here it's I am chatting. It can't be I is. Okay? They have to match. They have to be balanced. It's the exact same thing in French, except it's happening every single time you have a change of subject. And we tend to show it at the end. While in English you show it sometimes at the end and sometimes in the middle. So if anything, I think French is a bit more straightforward. And that's it for the singular present tense for ER verbs. So that's hopefully going to help you check your work on the worksheet you had last week for your 7s. So if you've submitted work already, please go back and check your grammar worksheet, exercise B, and make sure that all of the endings you've picked or written down match the subject of the sentence. From what I've seen, some of you, for example, put to, and at the end you've put an E. That doesn't work. To and E don't match. So have a check and comment down below if you have helpful feedback or questions for me that you'd like me to address in future videos. Like if this video helped you, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and don't hesitate to share this if you know people who are struggling with their French verbs. And I'll see you in another video. Bye!